Let's jump right in. Jar Jar Binks. No, we won't jump with that. We won't get started with that. We'll save that for a second. How many of you, this is just another question. This is a weird thing. How many of you saw Phantom Menace more than once in the theater? Isn't that weird? Because how many of you that didn't like it saw it more than once in the theater? See, that's the weirdest thing about that movie.
So if you didn't like it, did your kid drag you to see it the other couple of times, or?
Yeah, does anybody have a...
Because I'm trying to figure, because your face looks more like a smirk about the movie.
Okay,
so
give it to us. Why'd you say it?
Because I thought maybe it was something that if I watched it multiple times, I would get a different appreciation for it. Like maybe the fault was with me.
Ooh, see, that's it. I feel the same way.
It wasn't true.
I think that there's definitely that moment when, I'm just gonna put on Front Street and say that I don't hate the Phantom Menace. I don't even really dislike the Phantom Menace, but I like the Phantom Menace less than all of the prequels and episodes, or all the original trilogy and episode 3.
Yeah, actually, you bring me, it's kind of our first question. So the first question, and we'll start with you, John.
yes.
And each of you, I want to hear each of you say this. I want to get you on record. So why do you think Phantom Menace needs to be defended? And question 2, can you rank all of the 6 movies?
Oh yeah, that's easy enough. That's easy enough.
And we'll each do that.
Now, the trick is that I never thought that the Star Wars movies were that sacrosanct. I didn't become a part of the religion of the Force and all that stuff. So
why are you here?
Why am I here? Well, what happened was it's like I grew up seeing the originals, and then by the time I got to Return of the Jedi, I was like, oh my God, Ewoks. What's that? What the hell are these little soulful-eyed things that are able to actually destroy an empire? And that really got on my nerves. So when Episode 1 showed up, I was like, wow, this is fantastic. This is way better. Soulful little hobbity creatures saving the world. You had a great villain. You had performances that didn't seem like they were phoned in. I mean, it seemed like once they said, yes, we're going to end this trilogy right here, Return of the Jedi, it seemed like everybody was like, we're going to show up, we're going to do what we're supposed to do, we're going to hit our marks, and that's it. So, when Episode 1 came out, I felt like the legend of it allowed the actors to actually take the moment seriously. So, for me, the ranking is always going to be as I'm going to treat it like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 for me, because that's just the way my brain works. If I was going to say which is the worst out of all of them, I would say Return of the Jedi is the worst. Mind you, there are some iconic moments. Obviously, there's iconic moments. Oh, hush. There's iconic. Clutch the pearls. No, there are iconic moments.
How many walkouts do we have on that?
I mean, I'm not going to ever say.
Please, it's going to get better.
I'm not going to ever say there's not going to be iconic moments. Obviously, for every boy on the planet, there was Princess Leia on the poster, for God's sake, with the hair and all that nonsense. But it's just a nice little wrap-up movie. Whereas you have these other movies that were focused, they were fun, and it didn't feel like it was going to just end. It felt like they cared all the way up to the end, even with 1, 2, and 3.
So, good. Justin, do you want to?
Phantom Menace, why does it need to be defended?
Why do you believe? Why do you think it's worthy of defense?
All right, because 1, I think it's unfairly maligned, to a point. I was saying to you down here for 2 reasons. 1, because it's Star Wars, and I dislike it more, or rather I like it less than the original trilogy. But it's got lightsabers, it's got the Force, it's got Palpatine being awesome, it's got Darth Maul, it's got, it's in the universe. I like going to the universe.
So what do you think of the Star Wars kid? No, just kidding.
So I do for that reason think that it needs to be discussed and that it's improperly maligned. I also think that that I was trying to come up with a thesis for it. It's like a bad adaptation of a pretty good book. Where without it you don't get Clone Wars and you don't get Revenge of the Sith and you don't get this all the planets they introduced in this huge expansion of the Star Wars universe. It's got all these great ideas that like 30% of them are presented pretty well, and the other 70 are not. And that we'll get into that.
So what's your ranking?
Ranking would be Empire, Star Wars, Empire, A New Hope.
Okay.
Don't hate me. Revenge of the Sith, Return of the Jedi, The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones. Thank you.
I like the groans. That's my favorite. It's good. Maybe we do need that crowd control guy. I'm running. I got a quick pass. So Joseph.
For me, I didn't say it. I actually saw The Phantom Menace probably 10 times in the theater. And I think the reason why I kept going back to see it was because I couldn't believe that there was another Star Wars movie in the world. You know, that period from 1983 to 1999 was like, there was very little stuff. I mean, I was there the day Heir to the Empire came out, and I bought that book. And, you know, and if you read the interviews of any of the authors from that time period, and they're like, how'd you get started writing an expanded universe? They're like, well, Lucasfilm dropped all these things on us, these role-playing game books by West End Games. Well, I had all those books too, because those were the encyclopedias of Star Wars. So I saw it probably 10 times, and I don't understand. I think it needs to be defended, because I don't know why there's so much hatred for this movie. I mean, George Lucas did not rape anybody's childhood. You know, it's just one of these things where this thing called Red Letter Media started this craze that The Phantom Menace sucks, and then everybody jumped on board. But it doesn't suck. There's really, you know, all the arguments for why it sucks are like not good arguments, so I'm here to tell you why they're not good arguments.
Good.
And I would probably give the order of ranking the same as, probably almost the same. I would probably put, and it's hard to do because I don't dislike any of them. There are things I probably don't like about all of them, but they are Empire, New Hope, Revenge of the Sith, I agree with that, Return of the Jedi, and then I probably would tie Attack of the Clones and Phantom Menace. So, yeah, that's my take.
Good. Thanks. Yeah, I think part of it, I think it came around before Plinkett and Red Letter Media, though, because for me, that trailer, I don't know how anybody felt that's kind of my age. When I saw that Phantom Menace trailer, I probably was in tears. I was like, oh my God, it's back.
That Phantom Menace, you gotta say, I scheduled, the first time the Phantom Menace trailer played was in DC. It played ahead of anywhere else. It played the Uptown Theater in front of Meet Joe Black on a Wednesday at 11 a.m. I scheduled a doctor's appointment at work that day. I went to the Uptown to see, I was like, there are a lot of people here to see Meet Joe Black. If you've been to Uptown, it's the biggest theater you'll ever go to. The entire theater got up and walked out after the trailer. And it was like...
Well, at least you had to see it in front of Meet Joe Black, because it also opened in front of Wing Commander, which I had to sit through.
Well, I left.
Excellent.
Went with everybody.
2 o'clock defending Wing Commander. Yeah, so I saw that trailer, and then I went, much like you said, I went and saw the movie, and I was just kind of confused. I was like, what? You know, I was one of those guys that just came out with a lot of confusion.
What are you confused about?
Everything, man.
It was pretty
pick
self-contained.
one.
Well, not, okay. Here's
It's like when people saw the Matrix, like, what is the Matrix? It's like, it's a video game you're plugged into.
Well,
what is the, what?
Plot-wise, there was some confusion, I'll get to that, but there's one part that is so despised that I've really never heard. There is. There's one part that I heard that's, you can listen to the question as we go, so. Ed Sanchez, everybody. That I've never heard anybody really defend this particular part. It just so happens one of our panelists dedicated his book to Jake Yippee Lloyd. He seemed miscast.
No.
He seemed flat. His character was, poorly written. He just seemed like out of his element.
No.
You dedicated your
Which
book
is proving
to...
the point of what he is.
Okay, well...
He is a person out of his element. I get so sick and tired of seeing kid actors being wiser than the adults in the movie. Really sick and tired of it. Like Haley Joel Osment was up for the part, right? And, you know, if you saw Haley Joel Osment, you would say to yourself, how in the world are we going to be convinced as an audience that so self-aware a child is going to actually become part of the dark side at some point. You got to be smarter than smart, because the kid was already out of the box. Haley Joel Osment, you know what I mean? I mean, he's a scary-looking kid now. But anyway, my point is, Jake Lloyd, you know, was just a little boy. I mean, when you see Samuel Jackson, you say, oh, that's Samuel Jackson. You don't say, wow, Samuel Jackson has disappeared into his part. Ooh. No, Samuel Jackson is playing Samuel Jackson. And if you don't want Samuel Jackson in a movie, you don't want him, you know. But Jake Lloyd, to my opinion, was just a little boy. That's all he needed to be, a dopey little boy.
I don't think he's as wizard as you think he is. I mean, there are things going against Jake Lloyd. He's not that good in the role, but he's not that bad in terms of his talent. But he does, because it's on the page, do things that are annoying.
Like?
Yippee! I don't think that belongs
That's
in Star
what
Wars.
a kid does.
I know, but it didn't seem Star Wars. The wizard thing bugged me. I like the pod race, but the other thing, and this is Lucas's fault, Lucas crafted his performance from different takes. Lucas would go, I like how he said this first part of a sentence, I will digitally combine these two takes into one. There are times when you can tell that the rhythm of like sentences are just off. And
But
there's
he
something
does that
inorganic.
anyway. Now
I know.
that he has access to all that computer stuff anyway, in all of the movies, you can't even, it's like you can't.
But somehow
defend
Ewan
that.
McGregor emerges unscathed.
I don't think there was as many merging multiple takes as like you might think. I think that happened on the flight from Tatooine to Naboo, and I don't think it really happened much more than
I think it happens right before the sandstorm too. Either that or his pacing is
it was
just,
just,
either way.
It was like maybe twice, 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, look, I love the Phantom Menace. That's what I'm here for. But yeah, Jake Lloyd is like a block of wood.
But see, when you look at people like, oh, go ahead.
And did you see in the special features? Did you see that part where it's like down between two kids, and I'm like, pick the other kid. Because my thing about as far as a director, like if I was directing or casting young Anakin Skywalker, I would have picked somebody who was like, I mean, he's a genius. He's like working on engines, and he built his own pod racer. He's like 11 years old. That kid's mind would be, I mean, I've seen kids that are like just like crazy.
But
Like,
see,
he would
if
be
you
like
got
just
the kids like that,
tinkering
don't you
and-
think that it would be telegraphing the punch too much?
No,
You don't
because-
want to telegraph that he's a genius just so,
Well, but I mean,
not to
then-
say
then-
simplistically,
then you-
but so easily.
Then you shouldn't have cast him as a guy who like works, a kid who built his own pod racer. You know what I mean? That takes like mad skills, right,
I don't
Jamie?
know.
Absolutely.
You
I
built
mean,
your
I
own
built
pod
mine.
racer.
I have 2 of them, actually.
I mean, most of the mechanics I know, if you're trying to say that you want him to act like a mechanic, most of the mechanics I know are just dopey, cool guys. They're not.
Well, no,
they're
but-
not sitting there. They don't look like geniuses. They don't act like geniuses. They just are. They just do what they're supposed to do. They're like, oh yeah, I can. What? Kart rider?
Like
Give me a couple
that first scene in Watto's garage, where I think the first time you see Anakin, like the introduction to Anakin should have been him like popping out upside down out of like a turbine or something, and, you know, with grease all over his face and like with this really cool gadget that he's like soldering some space. I mean, it should have been like, holy crap, that's Darth Vader. You know
But
what I mean?
again, you're telegraphing the punch. You don't want. See, the whole to my mind, the little boy is you want to have that shadow of doubt that even though you know we're all basically like oracles into the man's existence, we know that he has no choice in the matter. He's going to be evil. He's going to be like Oedipus. He's going to kill his mom, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. And you don't want to telegraph the punch so easily. For me, I don't want any obvious foreshadowing. I mean, he gave us, Lucas gave us the benefit of the doubt for a little while where he's a cute little boy, he's easily malleable, he's dopey, he's not interesting. And you're not supposed to really go, ooh, that kid's like the kid in The Omen. There's something sinister about him. Ooh, I don't know. You don't want that. You just want a dopey little boy.
Joseph, bring us home.
I would say, as far as Jake Lloyd goes, I'm not going to defend or I'm not going to attack the Jake Lloyd situation. I would just say that, for as long as it took to get up to the Phantom Menace, we all, and that's actually the problem, we all had ideas of what the prequels should have been, but the issue is accepting it for what it is. So, yeah, I mean, I think the whole Anakin thing should have been handled differently, but I like it, and I like how they did it. I think Boba Fett, I don't think Boba Fett should have ever had a background, but if he did, I don't think it could have been any better than it was. So I think the thing is accepting it for what it is.
Cool.